Hello Internet. We have some kind of a laptop that came in for repair. This is Asus ROG G513QM. G513Q. Alright, that's what it is. According to the owner, 3060 RTX 3060 on board was failing. And then he did something, I don't know what he did. And then the whole thing failed and it's just stopped powering on at all. I'm guessing BIOS flashing may have been involved, and if that's the case, then we'll fix it by flashing the BIOS, which is going to make the customer mad, and he's probably gonna go on Reddit and tell everybody that I scammed him for by repairing his laptop, simply flashing the BIOS, completely disregarding the years of experience, the knowledge, the tools, the equipment, all of that I had to have in order to identify a simple fix. So who cares? Let's go and crack this thing open. I'm using this tool here. It's called opener, right? I mean, how else would it be called? I don't know, a tomato. Let's see if we can crack this thing open. It works pretty good, no complaints. You can use like a guitar pick too, you know, like a really thick one if you have one, or a thin one to get started, then proceed with the thicker one. It'd probably be the safest thing, but for me, I use this, so it is what it is. So let's see if we can get access to this through the back. Yeah, some of these are easier to open than others. This one is probably not the easiest one, so for whatever reason, doesn't want to split. There we go. We got it. Alright, so then we have some LEDs that we need to disconnect. Let's pull the battery out of the way before we short anything. I absolutely hate this Asus connector for the battery. A lot of people just end up ripping off the battery, the connector off the board. Alright, so I don't see any liquid damage here on the bottom of the cover. Let's vacuum things up so it's nice and clean. Let's plug the power. I think I have a power adapter here somewhere. Let's see what it's doing. I kind of wish I could show you. Let's go. Let's activate the side camera real quick. All right, there we go. So we flip the switch and nothing happens. 0 watts, 0 amps. Okay, let's fire up the thermal camera, see if anything is glowing on the board. Hopefully something simple, something easy. I see nothing. I don't see anything warming up on the board. Maybe something in here. Yeah, there's something in here that's kind of warming up. So let's turn off the power. Yep, that thing is definitely warming up. I don't know what it is. I see a little bit of warmth coming from under the heatsink. Looks like some kind of a chip. So let's check for voltages and see what kind of voltages are we getting on this thing. Switch to multimeter view. There's your multimeter there. All right, let's see what kind of voltages are we getting on the board. So what is this coil here? No idea. Nothing here. Nothing here. So that's our 17 volts instead of 20 for whatever reason. Not sure why we're not getting 20 volts here, but whatever. We'll look into that. What about this coil here? Nothing on that coil. Nothing on this coil. Nothing here. Don't know what this is. Nothing here. And we do get our 20 volts coming in. Yes, 20 volt on this shunt or a fuse. Don't know what it is. And I think that's pretty much all that I can test as of right now. One of these big coils supposed to have 5 volt on there. There's another coil behind that cooler there. So let's go and disconnect the power and see what's behind those coolers. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the memory. Actually, we can measure the memory, see if we have any short on the memory. Do I have a short on the memory? That's 17 ohms. That's 17 ohms, so that could be normal. No short here. 66 ohms here. I don't know what this is. No short. No short. No short. What else? This coil here. Don't know what it is. Probably 3.3. A little bit difficult to get to. And the rest I don't really have access to. There's one more coil here. Don't know what this is. So we're gonna need to remove a few things. Let's bring in a plastic bin that I have labeled with where the screw go, what screws go where, what part they are. And so let's probably start with removing, I don't know if I should be removing the memory modules or not. They don't appear to be shorted though. I don't know. Let's see what the reading on the memory is. If removing them changes a whole lot, there should be 17 ohms. Remove that, and then we get same 17. Remove that. Same 17 ohms. So that's not memory. This is something else. I don't know what it is though. Is it memory? I'm not sure if it's a memory or not. I think memory is here. No? I don't know. I think this might be memory, but why? I'm not sure which pin to test, to be honest. 16 ohms here. I don't know which pin am I supposed to be testing. But it seems to be, we seem to be getting exact same reading with the memory or not. So what about here? So 600 ohms here. Let's put a memory stick in here. 600 without. Yeah, okay, so that's memory. So that's the memory right here. So this here is, I don't know what it is. So we'll plug the memory back in. See, we should be getting even lower reading now. Yeah, 65 ohms. Okay, so this looks like it's shorted, but what is it? I don't know. So, doesn't matter. I don't care. Let's continue on taking things off. So NVMe coming out. Okay, we have some. I don't know if I want to take the whole thing out. I do want to take a look at what was that thing that was glowing somewhere. So let's go ahead and probably remove this whole thing. So yeah, I don't think we have an option here. Let's just remove the whole thing. So these are for the fans, and hopefully we can fix this thing. So we're missing. I'm pretty sure we're missing 5 volt. I'm pretty sure we're missing 3.3. So basically nothing. Basically no standby is what I'm trying to say. And if you don't have a standby voltage, nothing else will power on, basically. But why would it not have a standby? That's a good question. All right, so we have some liquid metal in here. We're going to be getting rid of that. We have a liquid metal on the CPU. Okay, so let's see. Oh, speaking of which, not long ago, Black Horse sent me liquid metal remover. Here it is. And we're going to try it. Dude, I never thought this day would come where I would actually have to try this. But the day came, so let's try this. Not sure exactly how that's gonna work. Let's do this under a microscope so we can see. I had no idea he created something like this. Alright, here we go. Liquid metal. What can go wrong? Absolutely everything. See these capacitors there? They're supposed to be protected. And I'm guessing this is a user inflicted damage. He probably applied some silicone in here, is what it seems to be. Yeah, we gotta be super careful because that stuff can splash. Wow. So, yep, looks like it's one of them DIY cooling solutions. Okay, yeah, very well done. Obviously, as you can see here, the amount of liquid cooler is extremely excessive. So don't do that, please. I don't know, wherever you got this idea from, please go to that place and tell them that that idea is not good. Whether it's the idea that's bad or it was not executed properly. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't seen the source of this idea. Alright, so here goes the liquid thing remover. Okay, it looks like a paste. It looks like flux. What does it do? No idea. We mix it in. How does it work? No idea how it works. I guess I just kind of mix it in and then pick it out, or what? How am I supposed to use this? Black Horse, how am I supposed to use this? You know what? Let's try some hot air in here. See what that does. Let's soften this thing up so it would flow. Maybe if it flows, it'll do better. I don't know. Okay, let's see if that helps. I am probably not doing it right. I don't know, man. That stuff is everywhere. I mean, it seems to sort of ball it up, if you know what I'm trying to say. It seems like it's collecting it into larger balls. I'm guessing that's how it's supposed to work. I'm not sure. But it doesn't look like it's any different from a regular flux, so I'm not exactly sure what is the purpose of calling it something else. I don't know. Could be just a marketing thing. I don't see it like attracting liquid metal to itself. It's just kind of picking it up simply by being sticky. Other than that, I don't really see a whole lot. I I don't really see anything too impressive. But it seems like, I mean, it's doing its thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. We managed to pick it up after all. So I guess I was kind of expecting it to behave a little differently, maybe. I'm not sure. So now I have to clean that. And there's still a little bit in between the capacitors. Yeah. I guess it works better when it's thin. So it makes me wonder if I can just use a thin flux to do this, which is different. If it's gonna do the exact same thing, I can't really confirm because the amount of liquid metal that I have now is significantly less. So I cannot say 100% whether it was a success or a failure. But it seems to do its thing, so regardless. So I guess any flux would do. I don't know. I'm having some difficulties, as you can see here, I'm having some difficulties with the Black Horse. Liquid metal remover, remove the liquid metal in between the capacitors. So I'm using thinner flux, the my favorite flux that I used to reball with all the time. And I think because it's not as thick, it actually works a little better. So maybe Black Horse can modify his batch to make it work, to make it a little bit thinner. Or maybe we need to like use a brush or something. I'm not exactly sure how it's supposed to be used, to be honest. I never talked to him about it, so, because I didn't think I will ever have to use anything like that in my entire life. So, but here we are. Usually I just slowly and carefully work my way around with Q-tip and alcohol. But it looks like this is definitely a better way of doing this. So still some around the edges there. I'm not going to worry about this too much. Still don't like it though. It kind of you see what I'm saying? I don't like it. It's over on the edges. I'm going to have to pull off all that foam from there. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull the foam out because the liquid metal is there, as you can see. And it will make its way under there if we are not careful. So let's see. We gotta be super careful peeling this stuff out. So yeah, I want a nice clean edge, especially here. Okay, and I'm a bit paranoid about all that liquid metal that was over on this edge here. As you can see here, there's a little bit of it just on the edge there. And so I guess we're just gonna apply some of that thick stuff and try to pull that stuff out of there instead of pushing it in. You know, that's my biggest fear right now, is that we might end up pushing it in. And I do not want to push anything inside. Let's see if I can use a pick to get that one little piece out. And we got it. All right. That was my biggest fear. And then we still have some here. If I can scoop that out. So, okay. So that looks like it worked reasonably well. So I'm going to call this one a success. Though if it was a little bit thinner, it'd probably be better. All right. On the back of the board, what I see is some kind of a delamination. Not sure what that is. It looks like a trace damage and some corrosion on this capacitor. How is that possible? I have no idea. Let's go ahead and go look under a microscope. See if we can get any details on what's going on in here. Oh yeah, we have corrosion indeed. Very interesting. How did this get to the bottom of the laptop? That's a very good question, because this is the bottom of the board. How did that get here? No idea. And so I'm guessing we have an issue with this chip here that we need to solder properly, unless the chip has damaged internally. I don't know what this chip is. Some kind of a parade. Hopefully you can read this clearly. Some kind of a parade chip. Hopefully it's nothing one of them custom ones. Power monitor. And yeah, very interesting. I don't know what this is. And how did this laptop get wet? It's almost as if it got wet when it was upside down. Very interesting. All right, let's see what this thing looked like under a thermal camera when the power is introduced once again. Not sure if this chip here has a problem at all, but we'll see. I don't see anything glowing in this area other than that one spot of that chip that's on the other end of the board, but nothing here. This is the chip that's corroded and there's nothing, so I don't know. All right, let's take care of that corrosion here. Just gonna reflow the pins of that chip. Then I'm going to try to figure out the value of that one resistor that was there. and get it replaced. The capacitor is most likely a filtering capacitor, not gonna worry about that, but at the very least we can see if it's shorted or something. So let's see, one little step at a time. How did you get liquid in here? That's just, oh, you know what, wait, no, this is actually the top. Okay, so this is the top. Okay, never mind, because the board is flipped upside down, so the liquid came from the top of the laptop, somewhere around the keyboard area and whatnot. So that actually makes some sense. But whatever, regardless. Okay, let's switch under a microscope and try to see if we can reflow some of these things here, particularly this chip here. So let's go and apply some magic flux in here around the corners and try to reflow this thing really quick. Turn on the exhaust, bring in the heat, and off we go. Alright, let's see what this resistor is, if we can get any reading off of it. I'm guessing it's some kind of a pull-up maybe, not exactly sure, or a pull-down. Let's check for resistance on this pad here. So we're reading something. That's a 0, and we're not reading anything here, so this is like a pull-down resistor. Let's see. And right next to it is going to be a filtering cap, most likely. So we can probably ignore the filtering cap. Yeah, we can. Let's remove this cap here. We don't need it. It's broken anyway. But the resistor, I wonder what the resistance on that resistor is. And let's see if I can measure that. Looks like it's a 1 kilo ohm. It's reading 1 kilo ohm, so I'm going to guess that the resistor is okay. So let's solder it back. See if the reading was weird, like something like I don't know, like 1.1K or 15K, something odd, something out of the norm, that I would have reasons to suspect that the resistor is bad. But it appears to be okay, so I don't know, we'll see. And it doesn't want to get soldered to the, probably because its pad is bad. Most likely the pad on that resistor is bad. So let's wait, we're not getting anything on it anymore. No, we're still getting 1K. Alright, let's replace this resistor. I think its bottom pad has eroded, so it's refusing to solder. And if we flip it over, you can see that the bottom pad is missing. Now we could solder it backwards, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna be the good boys, and we're gonna give it a brand new resistor and charge customer $100 for a resistor. Alright, here comes the resistor. I really should have put some black horse flux in here instead of that magic one I'm using. There we go, almost perfect. And I'm going to ignore the pad for the capacitor. It's just a ground cap. I don't think it's necessary, but we'll see. I also want to look at that chip and see if all the pads are soldered. And you can see that it looks like, I don't know if you can see this. Let me try to zoom in here. It looks like one pad there, that pad right there, is floating. And all the other pads look okay, as well as the pads on this end. So one pad is floating, and I think that should be it. That's actually looking good. At least from my point of view. You may not be able to see it as good as I see it because of the optics. Alright, let's see. See if anything changes. The board is a little bit warm, but we should be able to spot if it powers on. And I don't see anything powering on. There's something in here that kind of started glowing. Nothing here though. And yeah, I don't see anything on the back. This here, that's that same chip. Yeah. Okay, so it's progress. Let's go ahead and check for voltages if we have any. If we have any standby or something. So what is this voltage here? 0.6. 5 volt. Yes, we have standby. Perfect. We still need 3.3 somewhere though. 0 here. 0, 0. I don't know where 3.3 is. 3.3 might come up later. I'm not sure. I'm not a laptop expert, but we do have 5, so that's good. Okay, I suppose we can try. Well, I can't. I need 3.3 because I can't turn the board on without the 3.3. So I just need to figure out where 3.3 would be on this board. And I'm guessing it's probably this coil here, though I'm not 100% sure. Let's see if we can figure this out with the resistance. 80, 90 ohms, that could be 3.3. This one here is definitely battery, 57K, I don't even know what that is. Most likely 20 volt line, 50 ohms. This one's what? 50 ohms. So this is probably, okay, so this is memory for the core, most likely. Okay, not sure what that is. Probably memory. Don't know what that is. CPU, not interested. This one here, what is this one here? Could be 1.8, I don't know. This could be 1.8, this could be 1.8, 500 ohms, and this may be 0.75, I don't know. 50 ohms here, who knows? Okay, I think we're missing 3.3. Now, which chip was it that was getting warm? It was like one of them here. Let's see. Okay, right here. So this chip here, let's get a macro lens on and have a look what's going on. A little bit closer. So this chip here, and then we got a trace that's kind of getting hot for whatever reason. Not sure what's going on. Oh, it just went off by itself. Okay, let's cycle the power. Nothing. It's not doing anything anymore. Oh, there it is again. So we got this chip glowing. Not glowing, but just kind of warming. It's kind of warming up a little bit. This is the chip, I think. It's a big Q, so it's a charging chip. Okay, I think that's what it is. And then we're getting a reading off of here. So I don't know. I don't think we're gonna have a problem here though. I think the problem is somewhere else. So I'm gonna go ahead and look around, see if I can spot any other issues, and we'll resume. Alright, here's what I found. This is the EC chip with corroded legs. So 2 legs are corroded, and I'm guessing that might be the issue. I do not know. Though I don't know if that's going to be an issue with a 3.3 volt or not. So let's scrape away that rust from the pad and the pin and see if we can resolder that real quick. Where is that chip? Here it is. I'm going to scrape away whatever's on that pin. The pin isn't loose though, so I'm not sure. It looks like the pin might even be soldered still. So, but we're going to redo it anyway. So let's quickly touch up that pin or the pins. Yep, that should be it. Alright, I am still not sure where 3.3 volt is, and with that seemingly rusted EC chip, pins reflown, I don't think anything changes. We still don't have, it doesn't look like we have any 3.3 anywhere. So I'm gonna have to go around the internet and find some kind of a board view or something. So that's what we're missing basically. 3.3 is supposed to be either here, it's usually somewhere around the keyboard connector. So first pin reading 210 ohms, so it could be, oh, 3.2. Wait, so what happens? Where is the ground in relationship to that pin? Alright, so let's see if, oh, wait a minute, check this out. I found 3.3 on the keyboard connector. Now let's see what happens when I short that to ground. So let's short that 3.3 to ground, if I can find it. There we go. So we'll start getting something powered, CPU, and the CPU is starting to get warm. Very interesting. Yeah, it's pulling about half an amp. Okay, but where? Okay, let's power this thing off. Let's plug some memory in, see what happens. I'm still surprised as to why I cannot find 3.3 volt on this board. Maybe it's on the back of the board. Is it? It could be on the back of the board, I just don't know where. But it seems to be reading it off of the keyboard connector, so... Okay, let's see. Here goes... There we go. We're doing 1.6 amps. Yep, it's booting up. See the memory chips kind of warming up right there, yeah. Very interesting. Okay, turn it off. We're gonna have to put this thing back into the assembly because right now I can't really do any further testing, unfortunately. So maybe we got it fixed. Who knows? Right, let's power this thing on, see what it does. I'm going to give it a little bit more amps so that it can do its thing. Flip the switch, press the power button, and see what happens. And I see nothing happening whatsoever. If I forgot to connect the power button, I don't think so. I'm pressing the power button, but nothing happens. Why is that? Maybe I didn't plug in the power connector all the way. I have no idea. So what do? Let's short those two pins again. See if we can wake it up that way. It's not powering. So what changed? I don't know. We lost the voltage. Do we not have 5 volt anymore? We still have 5 volt. What about that 3.3 volt whatever? It's not here anymore. 1.2. Yeah, I'm not getting, I get like 1.2, but I'm not getting 1.3 anymore. So wait a minute. Let's turn that off. Let's remove the keyboard. Since we had liquid damage that came through the keyboard, I'm guessing we might have a problem with the keyboard. So I just want to figure out exactly which pin is it that I am interested in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5th pin is now reading 3.3 volt, and if we short that to the ground. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th pin, 3.3 volt. Resistance on that pin is, what are we reading on that pin? We're reading 88K. Okay, which one of these coils is connected to 3.3? No idea. I have no idea. So, but if we plug in the keyboard, let's see what happens when we plug in the keyboard. I want to see if that reading is going to change. So the keyboard's plugged in, and the reading we're getting now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's the same reading, but the voltage is 1.2, so it's sagging. But why? And it's not powering on when I short the pins. Okay, let's remove the keyboard, and let's short those pins without the keyboard. Flip the switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still nothing. It's not powering on. Okay, let's do the process of elimination. Let's remove the display. Here's display. Power it on. Short the pins. I think this is the pin. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, so it's not the display. We still have our 5 volts. That's right. And 3.3. So what else can we unplug? Let's unplug the NVMe drive. Okay, the NVMe drive is out. Okay, let's see if we can. 1, 4, 5. Still not powering on. Yep, it's not powering on. Okay. Next on the list would be more ribbon cables. Let's get rid of that memory. More ribbon cables, such as the touchpad. So touchpad disconnected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is that piece of solder came? So nothing is powering on. So that doesn't work. Okay. Continuing on with these two ribbons. So whatever these ribbons are, disconnect that. Try again. Nothing. One last ribbon before we disconnect the Wi-Fi module. Nothing. Still not powering on. Absolutely no reaction whatsoever. Alright, let's disconnect the Wi-Fi module. Why I connected in the first place, I don't know, so don't ask. Okay, the Wi-Fi module is out. Still nothing. So the laptop is refusing to power once we had it assembled. Okay, that's very interesting. So let's go and disconnect everything again as before and see if, including speakers and the fans, who knows, maybe the fans are causing issues, I don't know. The fan. Okay, let's try one last time before we pull out the board completely. So everything is disconnected, including fans, all of the LEDs and everything. And it still does not power. So something has changed, or maybe something with a solder joint somewhere where the rust was. So I think it leaked like from somewhere here. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on in here. Who cares? Alright, so the board is out. I still don't have, I still haven't removed the cooler. I just want to see if that changes anything. I mean, why would it change anything? I have no idea. Let's short those two pins. See if we can, yeah, it's just powered right on. Look at this. Look at the amperage right there. See, we're pulling like 3, 4, 5 amps, whatever. It's cycling power, so it's doing things. But why? What'll happen if we just kind of move the board or flex the board? It's definitely doing something. Okay, who cares? Let's power this thing off. And let's have a look at what's going on. What could possibly happen when we put the board back onto the under the case? No idea. Everything looks clean in here, more or less. So I don't see any reason for it to act the way it does. Other than when it's assembled, there's a little bit of pressure that might get applied onto that chip, creating a poor solder joint. So why won't we do the right thing and get this chip removed and resolder it properly? I think that's all we need to do right now. Alright, now let's see what happens this time. Maybe one more memory module. Okay, let's see if we can, if we're still reading 3.3 volt. Flip the switch with the power. Let's check for 3.3 volt on that pin. Still reading 1.2, which is kind of low. So we're going to short the pins, and it's the same thing. Nothing happened. We still got our 5. Let me show you what I have. So I'm checking this pin. It's supposed to be 3.3, and we're reading 1.2 with the keyboard connected. So let's disconnect the keyboard. At least I think it is. And we're reading 3.3, but we're still unable to power. See, it's not powering on. It will only power when the whole thing is removed from the board for whatever reason. Why that is, I have no idea. What makes it work? You know what? Let's get these screws out. They do flex the board a little bit, and I'm guessing that might be what's causing this. There's probably a cracked solder joint somewhere, not under the chip, but somewhere else. Something somewhere is giving us poor connection. Let's see if we're getting the same 1.2. Oh, we're not. Flip the switch. Yeah, same 1.2. It's not powering on, and without the keyboard connector. See if it'll power on now. Still no power. Okay, so the board is completely free. Will it power now? It's not powering now. Okay, so will you power when you are completely removed from the board? I mean, what would that change? What does that change when the board is completely out? It's powering. I literally remove the board out and it starts to power. Here, I want to show you some of the voltages. See, 1.2, we got 1.8, okay, 5, 3.3 in here probably. Yeah, how does it power? I have no idea. Let's cut the power off, figure out what's going on. So, the moment this thing sits inside the case, what happens? The moment it sits inside the case, I don't really see anything that would be happening in here. Other than this thing is not in the way, I don't think. I don't know. It's just, there's just something about it that preventing it from powering it on as soon as it's on there. What if we just kind of lift it out? Or what if we lift it here? Weird. What if we lift this end? Still nothing. So we have to get the whole thing out or something. Why? Why does the board wants to come out of the case in order to power on? And it seems to be, nope, still doesn't work. Okay, so we're getting progress. Oh, no, it does work. Okay, I'm so confused. Now I'm going to be super angry if the problem is my power supply. So let's, and the only thing that changes when the power supply, when the board is out of the case, is the angle of the connector on the power supply. But we're getting 3.3 volt, so it's not like it's not supplying anything. See, it's just not, I'm shorting the pins and it's just not powering on. So what if I move around the power supply? No, it's not changing anything. It just refuses to power on until we get the board out. This makes no sense. I mean, what happens when we get the board out? Nothing. Oh, there you go. It just powered on. So put it back in, and it's still powering. Still have all my voltages, you can see here. Or you can't see it. There. Still got my voltages. This is weird, man. There's gotta be something. So, the only thing I can think of is the only thing that's pushing up on the board would be this cable here. So if we kind of line things up, so it might be, where would it be pushing? It would be pushing here, but that's it. Is something shorting out in here? It doesn't look like it would be. I don't know. Is there maybe some liquid metal or something? I have no idea. I cannot wrap my head around this. This is so weird. You know what I think it is? It might be one of those Hall sensors. Kind of makes me wonder if that's what it is. Hall effect sensor. That might be it. So we're not going to plug in the keyboard. Just going to plug in the power cable or the power button. And we're going to power it on the way it is. See if it'll work. I highly doubt it, but I don't know. It probably doesn't want to power because the lid is closed. So that could be something. I don't know. I don't know how real this is of an issue. It might be very real, so we're about to find out. Whether that's true or not, I will be mad if that's true. So I don't think I need to plug anything in anymore. So let's go ahead and plug in the power cable and start looking at the power consumption the moment we press power button. We gotta activate the switch first, so nothing here. Let's go ahead and activate that on the keyboard level. If we can. There we go. Okay, so there we go. It powers. So it looks like it was the sensor for the screen. Okay, so that's good to know. Let's turn it off. And so when the screen is closed, it doesn't want to power on. So that's definitely a lesson to learn here today. Something I was completely unaware of. And also, it looks like instead of having 3.3, we're having like a 1.2 volt or something in here. And I'm not sure why that is though. Without the keyboard, it's 3.3. With the keyboard, it drops low. All right, here goes nothing. And here goes absolutely nothing. Absolutely, here goes nothing. Power button doesn't work. What about, do we have any voltage? 5 volt. Why doesn't it want to power? It's doing the same thing as before. Let's disconnect the keyboard. See if the keyboard is actually faulty. There we go. It started booting without the keyboard connector. You can see here the LEDs are on. Let's wait and see if it's gonna give us a picture. Yeah, it looks like the keyboard is a bust. There we go. Let's see if it's loading the operating system. All right, that's good to know. Get ready to blur the customer's information. It says welcome blue screen of death. The trackpad works, but the keyboard doesn't do anything. So, all right. Okay, let's look at the GPU-Z. I want to see if the GPU is there already on, and nope, the GPU is not on the list of things. So let's power this thing off. The power button doesn't seem to work. All right, force shutdown, I guess. Okay, so we've solved that problem, but now we got a secondary problem that has to do with the keyboard. So we're gonna have to find a way to get this keyboard replaced. So I'm gonna have to pull the keyboard out. All right, so we got a new keyboard assembly that came in. That keyboard looks atrocious. The alt button is worn out for whatever reason. I'm not going to try to replace it because I already tried to pull some of these buttons off and they just snap off. They just break away. I don't know. I'm not good at buttons replacement, so I'm not gonna worry about it. So all I need to do now is basically I need to disconnect the LCD, and that should be it. And while I'm at it, I'm going to loosen up the hinges, just maybe a quarter of a turn, even if a quarter. So what that will do is it will decrease the amount of stress that's applied when the lid is being separated. So what that does, it will extend the life of the hinges, mainly plastics that are holding it all together, because the manufacturers tighten these specifically for the reasons of breaking your case in half. As the plastic deteriorates, it'll eventually crack. So we're going to prevent that from happening. Also good practice when you buy a new laptop. Just do that right away. Right, so if I remember correctly, we were reading some kind of weird voltage on the 3.3 by the keyboard. So let's see, what are we going to be reading now? Okay, so we're reading 3.2. Now let's see what happens when we power the thing. Doesn't seem to want to power. Oh, probably because the lid is closed. So let's open the lid, push the power button, and it powered. Powered right away. LEDs are on, so that's good. So I'm gonna have to head into the Windows and make sure that all the keys work and take it from there. Okay, finally I get the device manager. No, not the disk manager. So NVIDIA display adapters. So there's no GPU. So the GPU is not on the device manager. So that's so we need to figure this out. So all I see is AMD graphics, and I do not see a GPU anywhere near. Okay, let's power this thing off. I kind of wonder what the power button does. So let's see. Power. No results. There's no results for power. Can you believe this? It has no results for power. So I have to go into power options. I think, okay, see what the lid does, what power button do. Power button will always shut down. And when I close the lid, do not, well, you can sleep when you press sleep button. When you close the lid, do nothing. All right, so I'm gonna save that. Okay, so let's shut this thing down and figure out why we don't have a GPU. All right, so here we go. How do we figure out whether the GPU is working or not? And most importantly, how do we power this thing with the lid closed? What is it that needs to be disconnected in order for this thing to work, and disregard the state of the lid? That I want to know. What does tell the motherboard Hey, the lid is closed. If anybody knows, I'd like to know. There's probably a hall sensor somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Maybe we can disable it altogether. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to power this thing and see if the core starts to warm up, and if not, then we probably gonna have to figure out what's going on. So the CPU is warming up. See here, core is not warming up though. So maybe we can put some kind of a cooler on it, and maybe we can start poking around, seeing what we can identify. We can maybe find some voltages. Let's bring in the multimeter, see what kind of voltages. So this is gonna be a core. There's obviously nothing there. I don't know what this is. 0.75. So this is for the CPU. What is this? Volt here. There's nothing here. I don't know what this is though. Nothing here. Nothing here. So I'm thinking these two are probably memory, because there's two coils and they're big, so they're probably memory. And let's see if we have a 1.8 on the BIOS. I don't really see much in here. And go ahead and look at the board one more time. I think it kind of kills itself, or no? No, still runs. Okay, so it's still running. 1.2. This is 12. This is 5, whatever that is. Memory voltage not existent. The chip isn't there. And this stuff 5 volt, 3.3 standby. Yeah. So, and then this one's the battery, I think. So we're missing something. We're definitely missing something. And I do not know what is it that we're missing. So let's go ahead and insert the memory stick. So, and remove the SSD or the NVMe so that the thing can boot, but do not load into Windows, because we don't want this to load into Windows. Not yet. Power this thing on again and have a look. This time it's gonna have a little bit more activity here. So there we go. So the GPU is actually booting up. Okay. There we go. So let's put some block on the GPU to keep it cool. Check for voltages on the core. We have the core. We have 1.8. Perfect. Do we have memory? Yes. Now what's left now is I need to find the PEX. So either this is PEX. This is a 0.75 for the CPU most likely. I don't know where PEX would be here on this board though. And I'm not even sure what's what. So this could be PEX. One way to check would be to turn everything off and check for resistance, and we're reading yeah, we're reading like 15 ohms, so this is definitely PEX, since we're reading 1 volt on it and the resistance is very low. All right, okay, so we got PEX, which means all the powers are on, so you would think that the board would at the very least detect the GPU. So maybe we can read the BIOS off of the chip and see if we can get the version out of it and reflash it, and I would imagine that will be the BIOS chip right here. Hopefully a problem is there. Who knows? Right, so now the annoying part is that I have to put it together to some degree in order to test it out. So to put the cooler back on, at least partially. So, and we can also sticker back on that. So it read the chip fine. I think there were some discrepancies in the BIOS, as it kind of briefly blinked and gave me an impression that it just doesn't look the same as as whatever's on the chip. So hopefully it was just a corrupt BIOS. But if I remember correctly, customer mentioned that it started to fail, and then he went in here and did something, and then it failed completely. So we've fixed the power issue, but we're still trying to figure out what's wrong with the GPU. Hopefully we can. I'm gonna go into a memory test and see if I can detect it in there at the very least, so that we know that the hardware is detected. And if the hardware is detected, then we can probably see if there's a BIOS issue or something, because the thing is with Asus laptops, almost every Asus motherboard laptop owner just can't live a life like a normal human being. They just go in and flash everything, and, you know, change things, use the ARMORYCRATE. I mean, you just can't sleep at night. You just want to break your GPU. The first thing you do is you activate the ARMORYCRATE, and the ARMORYCRATE, you change settings to like performance mode or something. You know why? I have no. All you need to do it safely is you simply go into your power settings, and then you go into the advanced tab, and then you change the PCI link speed to off, and that's it. It will give you all the performance that you want. It'll still work as a normal laptop, and but at the very least it will not screw up with the switching of your GPU back and forth with who knows what. Alright, so the good news is, I don't know if I've seen it before, but it is now saying that we have a 3060 on board. That's good. No need to run any kind of tests, at least not right now. So let's go ahead and install the NVMe drive. Go into Windows real quick and see if it's actually there, because the BIOS is detecting it. I failed to see that originally, so I honestly have no idea whether or not that was the case originally. So we'll see. Display adapters, yep, right there. I see 3060. Oh, it was there just a second ago. I swear it was there. It was there just a second ago. That is so messed up. Yeah, this is weird. I mean, it was there, and it got disabled. Like, and it's not even disabled, it's just hidden. I'm not sure why. Very strange. And the GPU Z will obviously not show it either. I'll turn off that annoying. So let's see. Well, it's not in the device manager, so what's the point? Yeah, it's not here. So, but it did show like for a second. Very strange. I'm starting to think it's a BIOS issue. So let's go ahead and quickly go into BIOS. I'll go into BIOS and see if it's still there. I'm trying to do a BIOS update here that was already pre-installed. So let's see if that works. I guess he already tried to do a BIOS update, and not exactly sure which button I need to go into the BIOS. 12, F delete, F2. Yeah, I still see the 3060 in there, and I really wonder what's going on in here. BIOS version 331. If I can go into the message went away though. Maybe we can reset the defaults. Okay, so let's reset the defaults. Save and exit. Let's see what happens when we go into Windows one more time, and I'll show you we have 3060. You just have to catch it. You have to catch it. That second when we go into device manager. So I'm gonna go there really quick, and you will see it under the display adapter. Oh, it's not there. It's not there anymore. So that's interesting. It's the operating system that seems to be not detecting it. Very strange. I wonder why that is. And this one is becoming disabled, so I have no idea. Some kind of an AMD platform controller and framework becomes disabled. So let's see if we can. Okay, he doesn't have a driver installation here, so we're gonna have to install a driver and see if that helps. And right there it says that the GPU is. No NVIDIA GPU is detected. Could not find compatible graphics hardware. So that's a bunch of BS. So let's go and do this little trick. So we're gonna extract this to NVIDIA to a C drive. Okay, so gonna extract that there, and then we're gonna open up the task manager, and we're gonna close this program. Oh, we have ARMORYCRATE. Aha! See, I knew this. Why didn't I see it in the startup menu? I don't know. Armory. There's that sneaky bastard. Alright, let's, of course it's in a turbo mode. So let's switch to Windows mode. And is there a way to reset this? I don't really know. Settings. So that just crashed. Okay, so let's go ahead and terminate this process and the task. That's going to allow us to manually, where's this guy? Where's that installer? There we go. And okay, so I wanted to end this because if I don't, it will delete the files that it extracted. See, it'll delete these files. So, and I do not want these files deleted. I want them accessible in case we need to do a manual installation. All right, so piece of trash. ARMORYCRATE. ARMORYCRATE, where are you? I want to figure out how manual mode, iGPU, GPU. Okay, we're gonna undo everything, reset default. Yes, CPU. Okay, so we're gonna apply. By enable manual. Okay, no, I don't want manual. Okay, let's go back. Is there a way to reset this? Create new. What is this? Mobile connect. Really? Home. Devices. There are 0 devices. Perfectly normal. GPU, memory, temperature, extreme power saving. So it knows that the GPU is there, but it doesn't really show us any operating mode. How do you reset this thing to a default device? Okay, this is the device. System configuration, panel power, boot up sound, AC key, GPU performance, eco mode standard. Okay, so we're gonna go standard. Refresh, stop everything. Yeah, free up space. Okay, so I really want to reset this to a default somehow, but I do not see a way to easily do that. And when I go there, it crashes. So we're gonna go add, remove, and add remove doesn't do anything. So I have to be a freaking genius to find a way to remove the program. So ARMORYCRATE, let's see. It looks like the search function doesn't work with this with the home edition whatsoever. ARMORYCRATE service, uninstall. So we're gonna be removing all of the ARMORYCRATE garbage. Uninstall, and I hope that while it's uninstalling it is actually resetting everything, but I can only hope, because this is Asus. Software isn't their biggest strength, if you ask me. Alright, it says uninstall, but it's still there. Go away. Looks like we got Halo Infinite. Nice. One of the games on the list is Halo Infinite. Okay, I really hope this process wipes out that stupid that shouldn't have existed virus from Asus called ARMORYCRATE. If you ever see one, run very, very far away. You don't need it. It does you no good. It messes up with your BIOS and it messes up with your hardware. So, and I want to show you what you want to do to get the maximum performance out of your GPU without doing anything to your computer, without installing anything stupid. So you go into power settings, and let me show you. So you go in here, then you go into just whatever power plan you have, go into your power plan, then go change to advanced, and then in here, there's usually a setting here, but in this case there isn't, but there usually is a setting. PCI Express policy, something along those lines, and you set that to off. Now, the reason why it may not be here is because not all drivers are installed, and so we're just gonna ignore it. And let's see if I have any more ARMORYCRATE garbage in here. Ryzen balanced driver, Apex Legend multi antenna service, calculator display driver on installer. We don't need that. And yeah, I don't think he has everything installed in here. And let's see if just uninstall it. Yep. Look at this. The 3060 just showed up. The stupid ARMORYCRATE. All I had to do is uninstall that piece of trash and the GPU showed up. So I'm gonna load up some testing software, and actually let's run the GPU-Z and see if at the very least we have all of the data that's displayed correctly. 60 laptop GPU. If it shows all the memory, yeah, we're good. All the sensors are there. We are very good. Okay, let's turn that off, and I'm going to... It's very upsetting. He has this huge gouge. Now the thing is, if you put just a drop of liquid on that gouge, it disappears. Almost. No, not really. It kind of disappears because of the refraction effect. But you know, whatever. Not my problem. It came like that, so who cares? I'm gonna go ahead, assemble this, put some PTM phase shifting garbage on the core and the CPU, and test the GPU, and I think that will be it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was educating, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope I earned your comment at the very least. Goodbye.